on? I couldn't find them.
I did not watch them this weekend.
Yeah, I tried to find them. I couldn't.
I saw some highlights.
I don't think they're on.
I saw highlights, but
yeah.
That's
I
why
saw something.
Yeah, my dad called me for that. He was like, hey,
They don't even have a TV channel set yet. What channel? Now you can stream it if you pay for the
Matt
package.
Underwood was here Friday and said, "We'll let you know when we know."
Right. So that's not. I don't know how many games they're doing spring training.
Usually they do a handful, one or two.
I think teams are doing less. I mean, even the Cubs, who have a big market, and they weren't on.
Is Bally's completely out of the mix?
It's FanDuel. Bally's doesn't exist anymore, and I think they're completely out of the mix.
Yeah, I know it doesn't exist.
But they are going to be on a TV channel, I assume.
Well, they have to. Yeah.
At some point.
We just don't know what.
Full.
And there's going to be a cable, a DirecTV.
Right, yeah.
And an over-the-air, which
right.
I think this year is going to be a significant number of games.
Could be, yeah.
Which would be a win for fans.
Bull, you had texted me this over the weekend, but
Yeah.
the Guardians got a B from The Athletic for their overall offseason, and you said, I actually don't agree with that.
Yeah.
So what grade would you give the Guardians for their offseason, and why do you disagree with the B grade, The Athletic?
Because B means they had a good offseason. As we know, what the Guardians do is they have a bad offseason, and then usually they have a good season. But I'm not giving them credit. Like, I still think they're good, and I've been thinking about my predictions for weeks, and whether anybody cares or not, I'm still not ready to make a decision. I'll admit, like Joe Batonio, I'm leaning in a direction, but I will say what it is. I'm leaning towards picking the Guardians to win the division, but I think it's very competitive, and I'm not totally sure yet. But just judging them on their offseason, how do I give them a B?
Yeah.
I gave them a C minus, and I think I'm being generous.
Piece?
What's that?
Did you read the piece? I didn't read it.
Yeah, I read it last week, though. I
grade.
can't remember exactly what they said. But
there's only one way I'm giving them a B.
Yeah.
If you're factoring in long-term health of the franchise. If you're just giving a grade, and this is the way I grade.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't have a B either. If you're just giving a grade on one thing, season to season, did they make the moves necessary to make a deeper run in the playoffs? How do you give them a B?
No, and even with the
long-term
health,
some responsible things.
But Jay, I don't know. I think it's irresponsible what they did, cutting the payroll again.
Because Bull, you're living in the world that they should spend more money.
Yes.
I'm living in the reality of the fact that they're not.
Well, but their payroll shouldn't be going down.
No, it should never go down.
As of now, it's gone down.
It has gone down. You're right.
And there's no excuse for that. This idea that we're going to cheer them for getting rid of a bad contract that they signed is ridiculous. So
I agree with that. And on the premise, Bull, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is because you grew up in New York, not that you were a Yankees or Mets fan, you weren't. But the baseball fans that I know that are Yankees fans or grew up in the metro area, look at what Cleveland does exactly how you do. It makes them vomit. They're like, that's disgusting. You guys aren't even a major league team. I grew up here.
Yeah.
I see how they operate, and I do understand the finances of baseball.
Why did they have to cut?
Well, I think what they're doing is,
it's the same.
I think what they're doing is, when they make a move, and this is the problem. This is because there's no floor and there's no ceiling. When they make a move, they think completely different than 20 of the other franchises do. When 20 of the major league teams, I think there's 15 to 20 major league teams, they operate like major league teams. When they make trades, they live in common sense world. How can we make our team better? This player for that player. Unfortunately, the Guardians live in an alternative universe where they can say, we can make the health of our franchise better if we dump these big contracts because the players aren't living up to them, or he's going to be a free agent next year and we have 0% chance of signing him. Now, I hate that reality, Bull. I hate it as much as you do. Trust me, I'm a fan of this team. So I think I hate it even more than you do. And I'm not cutting them any slack. I just know that that's the world they live in, and that's the expectations that fans have grown to have for this team. It sucks,
but here's
that's
the thing.
Where we are.
Here's the thing, Jay. In the 90s, and even into the into the late 2010s, the Guardians' payroll would kind of go up and down.
It ebbed and flowed.
It never got too high.
Right.
But there were years where they had a reasonable competitive payroll.
They did.
And I was okay with the years where it went down because I understand they can't have a consistently higher payroll. That I get.
They had a window.
But since COVID, and I think they've used COVID and the TV contracts as an excuse to some degree. Obviously, there's some reality there, but there's also some excuse. They have consistently not spent.
Right. Now,
and that's unacceptable.
So I agree with you. They have, and it is unacceptable. And that's why I'm hoping that the Blitzer Group takes over sooner than later.
Yes.
It's scheduled to happen in a few years. You're absolutely right. It's pinned to COVID. I haven't read any concrete reporting on this. I've just heard whispers of these things. I've talked about it on the show before. The commissioner has always told all of the franchises, you need a rainy day fund, okay? You need an emergency fund because we don't know they didn't write down in this doctrine we could have a pandemic.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that all responsible businesses were planning for. Wimbledon famously had pandemic insurance and didn't lose a nickel in the years where they couldn't stage their event normally. I'm told, and again, no concrete reporting, I've just heard whispers that of all of the teams, the Guardians had likely, if not the smallest, amongst the smallest of these emergency funds. And when teams were dipping into that for operating costs because they lost their gates, and the TV ratings were down, it decimated the teams, the have-nots. It decimated them because I think we're dealing with a team, Bull, and maybe one day we'll find out, and maybe I'm overstating it. I don't know. I think we're dealing with a team that is so cash poor that they have no choice but to make those moves.
Then if that's true, they should have sold the team, and it's unfair to the fans that they haven't.
Completely co-sign that.
If that's true.
Listen, Bull, I will make no excuses for the Dolans on any of this. I think that's why ultimately he sold the team. Unfortunately, he was on the 7-year plan, and I'm going to give a little bit up and a little bit up. Who suffers in that? We do.
The Naylor move, I know you were not going to get anything from him. You guys have been saying that for 4 or 5 years. But at least they could have let it ride out.
Then you get nothing, though. If he hits free agency, you're done.
Really,
and that's why I say
they brought Carlos Santana. If you say let him walk in a couple years, that's fine. If he walks for nothing, you still have guys that are going to play. Menzardo's going to play first base anyway. You have guys that will step in.
So how do you get to a B? I think this is one of the ways you get to a B. Now I don't know how sustainable Carlos Santana's numbers were last year. He's 39, but if you compare Carlos Santana's offense to Josh Naylor's offense, Josh Naylor was more productive for sure, but there's not this colossal drop-off. And it's a one-year bridge, and I think they're doing the math saying we're not interested in him long-term. He's a defensive liability. We're not interested in him long-term, so we're not going to sign him to a long-term contract. So that's where these organizations that are in the have-nots have to say, so what can we get for him?
Well, what I would say is, yes, I get what they're saying. And if the guys they got turn out to be great players, it was worth it. But they didn't get any sure things.
They did not.
This Slade Ciccone, he was a good prospect. He was a high draft pick. He's played a little in the majors. He's been terrible.
Right.
It's not enough of a sample size.
Manzardo, in fairness, his first trip up was terrible.
It was, but then his second trip up looked good.
Well,
okay?
maybe.
And Ciccone's already had 2 trips up. But I'm not writing him off. I'm just saying, I would have let it ride with Naylor because I think on this team, he was clearly their second best player. And to me, there is a pretty decent drop-off between him and Santana.
It's significant.
I think it is. It's not uncrossable, but it's a significant drop-off. Now, you could sell me all you want on Carlos Santana being a better defender than Naylor, which is fine.
Yeah.
And it's true. But if it were that important, then you wouldn't have traded Jimenez. If you were that obsessed with defense.
Right.
Especially when you're already weak over there.
Right. You've gotten better at first, but you got worse at second. Yeah. So their lineup, listen, I don't know where they've gotten better. Okay? Their lineup's not better.
No, their lineup is definitively not better.
The defense is not better.
Their starting pitching could be better.
Yeah.
But the only short thing that they've acquired in the offseason, or short thing in terms of he's going to be in the rotation,
commodity,
is Luis Ortiz.
You're right.
And he hasn't proven enough. I like him. And
is he a front of the rotation guy?
No.
I don't think he is. I think
major
he's an arm.
Thing from this weekend to keep an eye on, Tristan McKenzie's velocity was way up.
Yeah, I'm
That's
glad
a
you
major
brought that up,
positive.
'cause I didn't get to see him, but I was looking at the velocity and I said, okay, well, why did he have his decline?
Yeah.
Velocity. Why did it decline? Bad arm.
Yeah.
Now, I still think there's going to be arm issues. I think
100%.
down the road we're going to have this same conversation again,
Yes.
and it ultimately is going to lead to where we all know it's going to lead.
That's right.
But the fact that his velocity was way up, and he looked good. Now it was just we faced 7 hitters, I think.
Right.
But that's what jumped off the chart for me this
94.6 average fastball.
That's where he has to.
That was faster than he was throwing when he was pitching well. He was averaging 93 something, high 93s.
Yes.
Last year was like 91.
90s.
And that might not
Low
sound
90s.
like if you're not a big baseball fan, the difference between 91 and 94 might not sound like a lot,
91 is
but it
try
is.
it, yeah.
Yes, you
Get
know,
in and try
certainly.
it, yeah.
That's a huge difference, and that's a positive. But I'm not convinced that their rotation is going to be better. We don't know when Bieber is going to pitch.
Right.
We don't know when, if at all, Means is going to pitch.
Means is a big question
We
mark.
don't know. So there's potential to be better there. The bullpen, I'll call it a wash. I do think Seawald's is a good addition.
But you lost some guys.
You lost some guys. And the idea that all the guys that were elite last year are going to be just as good is hard to believe.
I think this division allows them to do what they do every year, because they can take away and strip down stuff and still be competitive. They were in the American League East. I don't think they would be. They wouldn't be afforded the opportunity because the fans it would be stark. You would see it.
Yeah. Because in the East, there's a lot of teams with high payrolls.
Yes.
In the Central, there isn't.
Yeah. So
no, and the geographic, and I like it that way because the coastal advantages the population centers because they have higher local TV ratings, can spend more money.
Yeah.
We're in with Kansas City, Detroit. That's who we should be in with.
Yeah.
These kind of Midwest, small to mid-sized markets.
There is Chicago, but they don't act like a Chicago team.
Well, it's the second team.
Yeah, right.
And it's the South Side.
Right.
So we know what goes on
and
there.
they're terrible. But
but I'm with you. On the surface, when I saw B, I'm like, how in the world can you justify a B? You lost the entire right side of your infield, which was not just, I don't think he was just the best second baseman. I think he's one of the best defenders in the game.
That is correct.
And the best infielder.
That is correct.
And Naylor was a bad defender. Although he made strides and did improve. Yeah. There were still times where
bad defender.
There were too many balls he can't get to.
He gave me 30. He gave me 30.
Again,
we need 30.
Last year, your best hitter is Jose, right? Your second best hitter was Naylor. He's gone.
Yeah.
Your third best hitter is Quan. Okay, you got him.
Quan homered.
Your fourth best hitter was Fry. He's going to miss half the season.
Where's the power?
And so, Carlos Santana.
Well, Manzardo could come around and provide some power.
We need him to have everything he's supposed to get.
It's possible by August you have, I'll be optimistic, you have Manzardo, DeLauder, and Bazzana all in the lineup at all.
Wow.
And maybe they're all playing well.
Now if that's
No.
But that's a lot to ask.
I get that. I heard DeLauder and Manzardo for 5 years. You tell me Bazzano's gonna be up with them two the rest of the year? Stop.
Well, second base is a question mark, so there's an opening for him.
Hey, I'm all for it.
There's an opening for Bazzana, and there's an opening for DeLauder in right field.
I'm all for it because I don't know who I'm going to the ballpark to see. I need to see some young guys.
Well, we love Quan. If Quan stays healthy, he's a fun watch. Jose is the single, to me, it's the single most exciting player in the game in the American League.
I just asked, who's their third best hitter? Is it Carlos Santana?
Might be.
Is it Lane Thomas?
Might be.
Kenzie Noel, baby.
Hey, Quan.
Big Christmas.
Quan is already
Don't sleep on him.
Quan is already getting looked at by the Mariners, all the West Coast teams.
Well,
the Angels.
I'm afraid that his days in Cleveland.
I'll say this though. Yeah. First of all, I said this before with Josh Naylor that he was not going to get a big contract. He's not getting a big contract. Even if he has a good year, he's not going to get a big contract.
Define big contract.
He's not. The best he's getting is. First of all, nobody's going to want to give him a long-term deal because of his body size and his injury history. Yep. And he's a one-dimensional player. Now, he's excellent at that dimension.
Well, his injury history, he broke a leg in a freak outfield
right, but he's missed games almost every year. If you look at it, he misses a chunk of games every year. He's getting it, really and his body type doesn't lend well to playing well.
Now that I'll agree.
Angels
he can't run the bases. He can't defend.
Boston got bread. He's going to get.
I think he will get a big contract. But our definition of big contract.
What do you think?
Right. Last year was the only season he's played a majority. He missed 40 games in 23, 40 games in 22, and then before that he was never a full-time player.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think in 22 he broke the leg, and that carried over into 23.
No, he played 122 games in 22. He broke his leg in 21.
Oh, was it 21? How many games did he play in 21?
Is $19 billion a lot?
Hold on.
See, here's the difference.
Yeah.
I heard 2 things.
Big contract has 2 different definitions.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For Cleveland, $20 million a year is a big contract.
That's a
I
big
don't think
contract.
Naylor's getting $20 million.
And they're not going to give it to him. I think someone will give Josh Naylor. I think
Quan's not getting $20 million
I could be
a year.
wrong. You might laugh me right off the set. I think there will be a team, because there always seems to be, that will prioritize what Naylor brings, and he'll get in the ballpark of 3 years, $50 to $60 million. And that's just not what the Guardians aren't going to do that for him. The Guardians won't do that for him. And
no, they won't. And they shouldn't.
I agree.
But I 3 for $50 I could see.
Yeah,
maybe.
I would even push.
Nobody's giving him more
$3
than 3 years.
I mean, he's a home run hitter.
The thing with Quan is singles hitters don't get paid.
No, they don't.
They don't
Typically,
get paid.
they do not. They're
So,
undervalued.
now you had a little more.
But add in the fact that he's a great base runner and a Gold Glove outfielder.
Yes.
And you start
right, but he's not going to get crazy money. Is
No,
what I'm
he's
saying.
not. But he's going to get paid.
He's a top 5 leadoff hitter.
I could see
Is he
Quan getting
Yes.
now Quan will get a longer term deal because he's going to be younger and he's not overweight and stuff
Right.
like that.
Somebody
I
take
could see
him.
Quan getting a 5 for 75.
I
There
can
it
totally
is.
see
There
that.
it is.
I can totally see
That's
that.
big. That's
Now,
yeah.
here's what I can promise you. The Dolans would not do that deal.
At all.
The Blitzers might. Blitzer might do it.
Yeah.
So
and you know Quan was swinging extra hard at the end of the year. You know
yes, he was.
He was swinging that home run swing.
Well, we saw his average go from near 400 down to below 300.
If he hit 16, 17 home runs, he exponentially gets an
If
extra
he
bag.
could get into the 20s in home runs,
Oh.
Now we're talking a different stratosphere.
and then he's Michael Brantley.
Yes, he is
Yes.
Michael
You know,
Brantley. You're
I mean,
right. If he can hit 280
Yeah.
and get 20 home runs
And
with
have the
his
glove,
stolen bases,
and-
his extra base hits, and his Gold Glove, you're right. He's Michael
Yeah.
Brantley.
He played for one
And
of
he's
the- he
better
played
than
for New York,
Brantley
one of New
defensively,
York.
obviously.
New York,
Yeah.
one of them New York
He
teams
was solid,
will give him
but-
a little bread. Boston will give him some bread. Somebody, Orioles will give him some money.
Yeah.
Like that.
The Orioles, they're not really spending.
But,
they don't
but,
spend like
but
those other
giving
teams,
the
but-
Guardians a B for what they did, I
No.
think is kind.
Because to your initial point, I don't buy that they're giving them that because of the fiscal responsibility.
I don't know because I didn't read the article.
Yeah.
So
I
can't
did,
say.
but I can't remember them saying anything like that.
then
I
they
think that would have
probably
stood
didn't.
out. So
Yeah,
I don't see it.
On
And I
the
like
surface,
some of
it's
the
not a
guys.
big-
Like I like Luis Ortiz.
Yeah.
Slade Ciccone has potential. There's no doubt. And they just obviously they signed Means for 2 years and. He's a guy when healthy
first
has
year's
always been
probably
really
a
good.
throw.
So you picking them to win a division? What are you doing?
I'm
Well,
not
I
ready
haven't
yet.
decided.
I'm not there yet.
Listen,
I want to.
to Bull's point,
right.
I feel like I have all of my other division winners, not in stone, but I feel
Yeah.
pretty confident in those picks.
Yeah.
I have gone back to this 3 different times, and I've picked 3 different teams. I can easily see Detroit winning the division. I can easily see Kansas City winning the division. With a little less confidence, I can see the Guardians winning the division. Now, the Twins, I think, would be the biggest stretch. Obviously, the White Sox they're going to lose 100 games.
Yeah.
But I think in this order right now, I would go, if I had to, and I'm not done, I would go Kansas City, Detroit, Cleveland, with maybe 2 or 3 games separating those 3 teams.
Yeah, I've got Detroit third. I'm not as a
Really?
believer in Detroit. I think what they
But
did.
you have Kansas City or Cleveland first.
Yes, I'm back. I'm not ready yet.
So you would, if
I'm
you
going
didn't pick
back and
Kansas
forth
City,
between
you would put Kansas City in third.
No. I'm one. Kansas City and Cleveland. I got 1-2. I just
Okay.
haven't decided
Yeah.
which order yet.
Yeah.
I think Detroit they played so great at the end of the year,
But not just the end of the year, going back to July. They turned the switch.
Well,
They flipped the switch in July, and
they played a certain way where they used the bullpen so much
They
down the
did.
stretch, and
They
I
did.
just don't think they can win that
Wait,
way.
are-
And I think their lineup, like for all the flaws that the Guardians have in their lineup, I think the Tigers have more.
I would agree with that. They do have flaws in their lineup.
Yeah.
Kansas City's got the best lineup. The best everyday starting.
Yeah, I still don't love the back end of their lineup, but their top 4 or 5 is really good.
I would trade ours for theirs
and
right now.
They got, like the Guardians with Bazzana, they drafted Jack Caglione.
They've got a good young,
who could be in the big
I know we
leagues
got to
this year.
go because we're past 1 o'clock. I'll just say this about the Tigers. The reason I have them in the mix is because I watched Scooble last year on the biggest stage
Yeah.
stare one of the most difficult situations in the face. And I know he lost Game 5 and gave up the home run, and there was a point where they probably stayed with him too long, and then they kept him in there after that, and he settled down. This dude is him. He's that good.
That's 100% true. If you asked me before we were talking about upside, if you asked me which team has the most upside, I'm going to tell you Detroit.
Okay.
I just think they have more questions overall
That's fair.
than the Guardians and Royals.
That's fair.
I think they got a higher upside than the Guardians and Royals. I think they got a bigger downside.
Yeah, I like that
They have
because-
so much talent in their pitching staff, but a lot of it's unproven or
in the
minimum
playoffs,
proven.
what wins in the playoffs?
Yeah,
Pitching.
sure.
And
Right.
if you've got Skubal in a 7-game series and can throw him 3 times,
Yeah.
good luck.
Makes it
You
dangerous.
can't have Bull and Jay on here during spring training, and the last segment is Guardians.
We're gonna
Listen, they wanted to pry into my personal life, and I told them
we're gonna end the show, and Bull and I are gonna be here till 4 o'clock
I know.
talking baseball.
We got some super chats. Obviously, no overtime because we went long, but great show. Actually, I can't believe it's 106. Today flew by.
107.
107.
We don't do shows
107.
together no more.